Day versus night workout. Here we go again. Now, when I previously addressed this, the consensus was that the time of your training probably doesn't matter, or at least it is very low in the totem pole of importance in your training. But does a new study change the course of all of this? In other words, should we actually pay stronger attention to the time we decide to do curls in the squat rack? In this video, we're going to break down this new study and find out if the results are meaningful enough to warrant any changes to our wonderful workout plans. Hello, I'm Picturefit. I make videos covering all things health and fitness, and sometimes just random stuff, with the hopes that this channel can help you with your goals. And I also like the amazing show Mr. Robot. Rami Malek was robbed and should have gotten an Emmy for each of the show's 4 seasons. Now, if you watch the content of this channel enough, you would know that a single lone study shouldn't heavily dictate our training or nutrition decisions. We should instead consider it for what it is, one or a set of data points that show specific outcomes, and if intriguing enough, we can employ it for ourselves, all the while understanding that it might or might not make a difference. So with that disclaimer, we'll go ahead and dive into the details of this new study that looks into the different outcomes between training in the morning, specifically between 6 and 8 a.m., or training in the evening between 6:30 and 8:30 p.m. The researchers used a multi-component exercise approach, consisting of resistance training, your good old weightlifting, interval sprints, stretching like yoga and Pilates, and endurance exercises. The components were performed on separate days, which means 4 exercise sessions per week over the course of 12 weeks. So many aspects of training and exercise were covered. Strangely enough, those squat rack curls were missing. There were a total of 56 participants for this study, which were first separated into 2 sex-based cohorts, one with 30 females and the other with 26 males. These cohorts were then randomly assigned to one of the 2 intervention groups. Multiple markers of health and fitness were assessed, which will go in depth in the results. Overall, that's exercising 4 times a week for 12 weeks. Both men and women are included in the trials, and the focus will be on the time of the day of training. Oh, and one more thing, a big one at that, is that the participants consumed similar dietary intakes throughout the course of the study. So the chances of the diet influencing the results would be fairly low, putting more emphasis on the time of training to be the likeliest cause of the results. Speaking of results, how about we check them out now? First, let's break down the results into 3 categories: improvements on health, improvements on body composition, and improvements on performance. Let's start with the women first. For health, the participants that exercised in the morning saw better improvements in measurements of blood pressure compared to participants exercising in the evening. For body composition, they also experienced greater total and abdominal fat loss. For performance, they experienced greater improvements in lower body muscle power measured through squat jumps. For the women training in the evening, they saw greater improvements in mood scores as well as satiety, or the feeling of fullness and satisfaction after eating a meal. For body composition, training at night didn't have an upper hand to training in the morning. For performance, the evening group had notably more improvements, specifically in upper body muscle strength, upper body muscle power, and even upper body muscle endurance. Now, using the same breakdown for men, we see that training in the morning actually had 0 physiological advantages compared to training in the evening. For evening training, in terms of health, there were greater reductions in systolic blood pressure and feelings of fatigue. For body composition and slightly for performance, they had an advantage in fat oxidation. For direct performance, training in the evening had no clear advantage. Now, knowing all of this, it's important to remember, though, that one group having an advantage does not mean that the other group did not improve as well. It simply means that one group performed better in certain categories. It's also important to recognize that both exercise times had similar improvements for the large sum of the factors measured. For women, both groups saw similar improvements in cholesterol, leg strength, sit-ups, flexibility, aerobic endurance, body fat percentage, and fat-free mass. For men, both improved similarly in heart rate, upper body strength, upper body power, push-ups, leg strength, leg power, sit-ups, flexibility, aerobic endurance, body fat percentage, fat mass, fat-free mass, and mood scores. That's quite a lot of similarities. So the key point of the findings is that, although a good majority of the factors measured did not differ between AM and PM training, there were indeed some standouts worth considering if they are important factors for you and your goals. Especially for women, there are many more differences between morning and evening training. Ultimately, the answer to should we be paying greater attention to the specific time we train is mostly it depends, specifically on whether the advantages are worth it to you. Overall, though, the answer is kind of closer to not really. It can be quite an inconvenience to adjust your whole training schedule for these advantages, especially if your schedule is already well established. So even if this study moves the needle slightly for the importance of the time of training, it still does not surpass the bigger factors. And that's choosing a time that you can actually stick to your workout and choosing a time you personally perform your best. If these two factors are not met, then the timing advantages would mean pretty much nothing. Consistency should be your ultimate goal, much like the Emmys' consistency on cheating Rami Malek. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a timely thumbs up and share it with your consistently loving friends. Subscribe for more. As always, thank you for watching, and don't forget to get your morning and/or evening protein.